listening to Julia's Trucking Cafe Trucking News Hour. Hello, and welcome to Julia's Trucking Cafe Trucking News Hour. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so happy that you're here and that you want to listen to the trucking news. As always, I have lots of news to get to, so let's get right to it. And our top story, truck driver delivers a stranded college student home for the holidays. I'll be talking about this in the latest episode of Rookie Roundtable. Not always trying to do a rant session, trying to also share some good news and some human interest stories as well. But first, hundreds gather in honor of a trucker killed in an overturned rig. Friends and family of a truck driver killed in a wreck gathered in his honor. Now, mind you, I ran off and left everything at my office, so this is a little bit late. 35-year-old Bailey Sinji Bagdalia died in a single crash in Natomas, California on the 16th of December, and his friends and family gathered at the crash site on the 19th to celebrate his life. According to the local news, Badiel's truck was the only vehicle involved in the crash, and it's still unclear what exactly caused him to leave the highway. But friends and family gathered near the Del Paso on-ramp to northbound I-5 regardless, standing amongst the debris left over from the wreck. He would have done anything for anybody. He was the nicest soul in the world, said one of his friends. Quote, I've had death in the family and nothing hits like this, nothing at all. He's a Sacramento legend, graduated from high school in 2005. He made it shine out there. You'll never seen a dude dunk like Bali. Quote, he had a different type of love and a different type of energy. This guy was telling me that he went to India like 3 years ago, and the driver of the car they hired saw that he passed away and was devastated. Oh, he still texts me. That's the type of guy he was, said this Bali's cousin. He showed me more love than any older brother, said his friend. The last words he told me is, you need to stop being a truck driver. You need to be a professional photographer because that's your niche. And he said, I haven't found mine yet, but you need to do that. The next day I went and quit my job, and I'm going to make it happen for him. Everyone has a purpose in this life, and his purpose was to connect with as many people as he could and help them with their problems and put a smile on their face, said a brother. Always show positivity. That's what my uncle said. Sacramento police say that the investigation into the crash is ongoing, but there's not any new information to share at this time. And up next, a study finds that semi-truck crashes increased after the ELD mandate, electronic logging devices. Researchers at the University of Arkansas say that crashes involving semi-trucks have actually increased since the FMCSA ELD mandate went into effect. This report was on December 16th, was released by Supply Chain Management Research Center at the University of Arkansas. They analyzed the FMCSA data, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, from after the ELD mandate and went into effect in December 2017 with a hard enforcement of April 1st, 2018. They say that, quote, the federal electronic logging device mandate has not reduced accidents, and its implementation correlates with an increase in unsafe driving incidences. Quote, surprisingly, the number of accidents for the most affected carriers, those operators from whom the federal mandate was intended, did not decrease. A research associate in the Sam M. Walton College of Business said, quote, in fact, following the implementation of the mandate, accidents among small carriers and independent owner-operators increased relative to large asset-based carriers. Researchers specifically examined how the ELD rule affected three safety-related outcomes: compliance with hours of service, accident counts, and frequency of unsafe driving. Researchers found that the ELD mandate did increase driver compliance with reporting hours of service, especially among owner-operators and smaller carriers who had not already been using the ELDs. Many larger carriers had used ELDs prior to the mandate, and compliance rates were not much affected. Perhaps the most worrisome finding is that for most trucking companies, there was a significant uptick in crashes after the ELD mandate went into effect. Quote, for most carriers, all categories other than carriers with more than 50,000 trucks. 50,000 trucks? What? Is there a carrier with more than 50,000 trucks? The number of accidents actually increased after the federal mandate took effect. Again, this is especially true for independent owner-operators. They experienced 11.6% increase in accidents, and carriers with 2 to 20 trucks had 9% increase, researchers said in a news release. Researchers say that unsafe driving incidents also increased after the ELD mandate went into effect. They say our results indicate the electronic logging device mandate did not immediately achieve its goal of reducing accidents. Drivers have reacted in ways that FMCSA had not fully anticipated. Well, you think? And these behaviors should be accounted for. FMCSA revisits their hours of service policies. Electronic logging device mandate coincided with the increase in unsafe driving and speeding citations among truck drivers, and this likely caused an increase in accidents. The stricter hours of service enforcement seems to have led more drivers to try to compress their routes into the time allotted. A report released by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, in late October 2021 found that the traffic fatality rate hit the largest 6-month increase ever recorded. From January to June, the report did not differentiate between commercial vehicle fatalities and passenger vehicle fatalities, but found that the U.S. is on one track to lose 40,000 people to road fatalities in 2021. And in this story, 2 Ohio way stations to be repurposed for truck parking. Ohio Department of Transportation announced plans to convert a pair of way stations to provide more truck parking opportunities in Ashland and Medina counties. They announced this month that they will be reconstructing 2 currently unused way stations on I-71 South between State Route 301 and US 250 in Ashland County, and I-76 between State Route 3 and State Route 57 in Medina County for truck parking. All work will be performed within existing right-of-way, and traffic will be maintained during construction. Utilities will not need to be relocated, and deep excavation is not required. Construction on the way station repurposing project is expected to begin in April of 2024. Well, that doesn't help us now. Hell, that's 2 years away. Good Lord. On to the next story. An Ohio man is arrested for allegedly paying a trucking company to help him steal a 58-foot bridge. What next? Police have arrested and charged a man in connection with the unusual theft of a bridge from an Ohio park. David Bramley, 63, of Sharon Township in Medina County, had been arrested and charged with felony theft, according to a December 20th statement from the Akron Police Department. The charge was issued in connection with the theft of a bridge from Middlebury Run Park in Akron back in November. The bridge that's pictured, you watch the video on YouTube, is 58 feet long, 10 foot wide, and 6 feet high. It was formerly installed at Middlebury Run Park. When a wetland restoration was done there, it was removed and stored in a field on the west side of Sieberling Street. On November 3rd, it was discovered that someone had cleared brush around it and removed the treated deck boards. On November 11th, the entire structure was gone. An investigation into the missing bridge was initiated, and officers received several tips that were critical to the case. Based on the investigation, Bramley was identified as a person of interest. Akron police continued to investigate and discovered the bridge partially disassembled. during the search of the property in Medina County. Police say that Bramley, who formerly worked in the Akron area, paid a local trucking company for a crane service. Crane was later used to place the bridge on and off a vehicle that transported it to the Medina County property. Authorities are working to transport the bridge back to Akron. Police did not provide any information on why Bramley stole the bridge. And in this story, dash cam video is released from Ohio troopers' violent rear-end crash into the semi. State Patrol shared dash cam video from the troopers' rear-end crash with a big rig last week. The crash occurred on the 15th of December on I-70 near downtown Columbus. 25-year-old trooper Jared Fitzpatrick was operating a cruiser in the westbound lanes of the interstate when he crashed into the rear of the semi, driven by 58-year-old Ohio-based driver Thomas Irvin. Fitzpatrick survived with serious injuries. Irvin wasn't hurt. State Patrol later said they believe that the truck's rear impact guard helped save Fitzpatrick's life. In the dash cam clip below, you could see Fitzpatrick approaching the rear of the truck at a high rate of speed, appearing not to slow down before slamming into the trailer. Ohio State Patrol said that Fitzpatrick was not on call when the crash occurred. The cause of the crash remains under investigation. And you can also go to our website, juliastruckingcafe.com/podcast/show notes to find this article and watch the video for yourself. YouTube frowns on when I try to share videos. I almost got a strike the last time I done it. And up next, Washington State Police say semi's last-minute swerve into a fence may have saved lives. Washington State Patrol says a serious crash was avoided thanks to a truck driver's quick thinking. This happened in Union Gap, Washington on Tuesday, December 21st at around 10 in the morning. A state trooper was pulled over on the side of eastbound Interstate 82 near exit 36 investigating a motorist. After the motorist was let go, they pulled out onto the highway in front of a FedEx truck, forcing the FedEx truck to swerve. The truck's swerve caused it to be rear-ended by another SUV, and that's when an oncoming semi-driver had to make a quick decision. Realizing what was going on up ahead, the driver locked his brakes and was able to successfully avoid hitting direct vehicles and the patrol car that was still parked on the shoulder of the highway. However, sudden braking caused the rig to jackknife, and it ended up crashing into a fence dividing the highway from the nearby Rudkin Road. Thankfully, in all this, no one was seriously hurt, and troopers say a lot of that has to do with the trucker's quick thinking. After that motorist was contacted, the vehicle pulled back into traffic in an unsafe manner and caused the crash, said Washington State Patrol Sergeant Rob Morris. The truck driver did the safest thing he could at that time to avoid causing injury or death to other people on the highway. As far as we could tell, he did the right thing. The motorist who caused the collision is cooperating with the investigation, and Morris says they will likely face charges. We just want people to be aware of that, increase their speed down the shoulder when it's safe to do so, and merge back into traffic safely instead of pulling right out in front of traffic. Of course, they never look to the left. They trust their mirrors. But anyway, also a caveat, a little bit of a break here for a split second in between articles. I know about the resentencing or the governor's input into the sentencing of Aguilera. I am so pissed off that I'm not going to even talk about it. It's been covered by all the different news agencies that don't know a damn thing about what the hell they're talking about. And he caved in because he's got to be reelected. So that's all I'm going to say on the matter. It was all politics as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, let's get back to the news. Charges are amended for trucker in a distracted driving accident that killed 2. This is not about Aguilera. This is about another driver. Charges against a truck driver responsible for a fiery distracted driving wreck that killed 2 were amended. See, so they got everybody scared, and now they're running around amending everybody's sentence. According to the local news, Yorkman Crawford rear-ended a car on eastbound Interstate 80 in Lincoln, Nebraska, and continued for a full mile before stopping, striking several other cars along the way. The accident killed a father and a son 41-year-old Mark Pust and his 7-year-old son Taylor. 5 other people were injured in the incident. Investigators say that speed and inattention were contributing factors behind the wreck, which led to Crawford's original charges of 2 counts of motor vehicle homicide, reckless, willful disregard, landing him a maximum of 3 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. As of Tuesday, those charges have been amended to only motor vehicle homicide. Crawford will now face up to 1 year in prison and a $1,000 fine. So 2 people died. 2 people died. A 41-year-old man and his 7-year-old son. And this jackwad only gets a year in prison. What do y'all Latinos think about that? You 4 million signatures. Really? And a $1,000 fine? Oh, because he didn't intend to do it. Get your damn ass off the frickin' cell phone. You did intend to do it if you can't pay attention to what the hell you're doing. Oi! And in other news, a Nebraska trucking company founder fined by the Federal Trade Commission for repeated violations of antitrust laws. On Wednesday, December 22nd, the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, announced that the company founder of Omaha-based Werner Enterprises, Mr. C.L. Werner himself, agreed to pay nearly $500,000 to settle antitrust charges. A $486,900 civil penalty to settle charges that he violated Hart-Scott-Rodino HSR Act while acting as a director of Werner Enterprises. The HSR Act is an antitrust law that requires companies and individuals to report stock purchases over a certain threshold to the FTC and the DOJ and to wait before closing on the transaction so that the federal agencies can investigate the potential competitive impact of the acquisition. This is from the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, and according to their complaint, on May 14, 2007, when Mr. Werner exercised his stock options to acquire shares of Werner Inc., he failed to make the required HSR filing, even though the acquisition, together with his prior holdings of Werner Inc., caused him to cross the $100 million HSR filing threshold as adjusted. Throughout 2009, Mr. Werner made additional acquisitions of Werner Inc. stock that he did not report, including several large open market transactions. Mr. Werner made more acquisitions of Werner Inc. stock on November 20th, 2012. This is all before he retired. He was buying up Werner stock to make the price go up before he frickin' retired. Back to the article. He made more acquisitions of Werner Inc. stock on November 20th, 2012 by exercising his stock options. And again on February 7th, 2019 due to the vesting of restricted stock. He again failed to make the required HSR filings for each one of these transactions, even though each acquisition together with his prior holdings caused him to cross the $100 million HSR filing threshold as adjusted. He then made additional acquisitions even after learning he was in violation of the act. Well, let's see. I don't have to cow down to the government like the rest of us poor saps do. Back to the article. Several of Mr. Werner's acquisitions were large open market purchases. As a director of the issuer and active participant in these transactions, Mr. Werner should have realized that he might have regulatory obligations and sought legal advice. Even more concerning is the fact that he made some of his acquisitions after he learned that some of his prior purchases violated the antitrust laws. Like I said, he thinks he's above the frickin' law. And now, after all that, let's take a short break. This episode of Julia's Trucking Cafe is brought to you by my Patriot Supply. As truck drivers, we all know what it's like to be at a shipper's or receiver's and have to wait to be loaded for hours on end. Am I right? Especially produce coolers and paper mills. That's why you need to be prepared with extra food in your truck, especially with the bad weather coming in, like it is over here in Kansas, up in the Dakotas and Minnesota. 90 was shut down, Interstate 94 was shut down, along with 29. What are you going to do if there's no food and a truck stop was without power? That's why you need to stay prepared with My Patriot Supply. Now, it's not what you're thinking. My Patriot Supply is delicious emergency food. They have food kits that are good up to 25 years. They come in a slimline tote that you can easily store in your food pantry or under your bunk. I can speak from experience. After living through Hurricane Katrina, we were without power for 10 days, me, my mother, and son, and I. If it weren't for the MREs that were flown into us, we wouldn't have any food. There was 4 60-foot pine trees that broke in half during that storm and crossed my driveway and landlocked me in. That's when My Patriot Supply would have come in handy. If I knew then what I know now about My Patriot Supply, I definitely have some of this food stockpiled in my pantry. Now, for a limited time, you could get a 1-week supply of food in a handy and neat looking ammo can, like you see here, for just $39. Look at all that food you get. It's a week's worth of breakfast, lunch, and dinners, just for $39. How do you get it? Where do you go, do you ask? Well, I'll tell you. Just go to my website at juliastruckercafe.com, click on the Emergency Food Supply tab, scroll down and click on any of the images to find out more information and get yours today. They even offer gluten-free food for under $100. Winter weather is here. What would you do if the interstate was shut down, just like I was talking about? You need to get My Patriot Supply and get it today. Welcome back to Julia's Trucking Cafe Trucking News Hour. Thank you for joining us again. In our next story, a 100-vehicle pileup reported on I-94 in Wisconsin. This happened on Thursday morning. It would be the 23rd of December. Crash began in Osseo area just before 6 a.m., around the 96-mile marker. State police say that one of the initial crashes involved a semi-truck on fire in the median with 2 passenger vehicles pinned underneath, and that many secondary crashes and spin-offs occurred. The pileup reportedly involved about 100 vehicles, many of them semis. There were no injuries or fatalities, luckily, according to Jackson County Sheriff's Office. The pileup forced officials to shut down both directions of I-94 between exits 88 and 115 around Osseo to Black River Falls. The state patrol said that freezing rain caused icy hazardous road conditions that morning. Motorist captured video from the pileup, which you can view in the article on our website, which, if you're new, it will be juliastruckercafe.com. Then look around for podcast and then show notes. And in this story, a truck driver is carjacked at gunpoint, found tied up in the trailer, according to Atlanta police. Police are investigating a UPS truck driver was allegedly kidnapped at gunpoint as a part of a cargo theft. This happened on December 28th around 3:30 in the morning. Authorities say that an armed suspect approached the truck as it was stopped at a traffic light. Suspect reportedly entered the cab and forced the driver to continue driving to an apartment complex. When the truck arrived at the location, the suspect and others tied up the driver and loaded packages from the trailer into another vehicle. After the truck was reported late to an appointment, it was tracked by the company to the location. Police found the truck driver uninjured and tied up inside the trailer. The incident remained under investigation. If you have any information, please contact Atlanta Crime Stoppers at 404-577-8477. That's 404-577-8477. And in this story, a truck driver that killed a North Carolina police officer had no CDL and also had fake tags on the truck. A truck driver that killed a police officer and injured 3 others late last week of December did not have a CDL, according to records. On December 22nd on Interstate 85 is when this accident happened near North Charlotte, North Carolina. 50-year-old Daniel Morgan was speeding along the Interstate 85 when he struck another semi. That collision sent the trucks crashing into 4 Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department vehicles. Oh, that was brilliant, which were parked nearby as officers investigated a previous wreck. The force of that impact killed Officer Mia Goodwin and injured 3 others. Court filings allege that Morgan then attempted to leave the scene, removing a tracking device from his truck dashboard as a way to impede the investigation. These documents also show that Morgan's rig was not supposed to be on the road and that it placed fake tags on it, and that Morgan was not in possession of a CDL at all, so it could have been stolen. He's facing charges of involuntary manslaughter, misdemeanor death by vehicle, failure to reduce speed, felony failure to move over for stopped emergency vehicles. He has since been released from jail on bond, and no further information has been made available. Kills a police officer and is released from jail on bond. Unfrickin' believable. Oh, it just gets better. In this story, a semi slams into 3 rigs, stopped to chain up, injuring several. Several semi-trucks were severely damaged on December 28th on I-90 along Snoqualmie Pass in Washington State. According to the local news, a semi-truck was traveling too fast for conditions when it slammed into 3 of them that were stopped so they could chain up. Thankfully, no one was seriously hurt in the incident, but serious damage was done to several trucks, as you could see here. I-90 westbound was closed east of Snoqualmie Pass Summit at Price Creek for 2 hours as crews worked to clear the wreckage and investigate the incident. Troopers say there were numerous other accidents during that time, not involving semi-trucks. And up next, a pinned motorist sustains only minor injuries after a very tedious extraction. A motorist sustained only minor injuries after being pinned beneath a tanker truck in Mississippi. This accident happened again in Ridgeland, Mississippi on December 28th on I-55. The four-wheeler became pinned underneath a tanker near County Line Road, seriously crushing the bright green vehicle. Miraculously, the motorist was not seriously hurt in the incident. He damn near had to lay down. But removing him from the mangled vehicle took crews a considerable amount of time. After very tedious extraction, the driver was removed and transported to the hospital, said Ridgeland Fire Department. Miraculously, the driver suffered only minor injuries. The truck driver was not hurt in the incident, and the exact reason for the crash was not released at the time of writing of that article. And in this story, a trailer did not have his lights on prior to a fatal crash with a family car, says witnesses. 2 were killed in a crash with a semi-truck south of Utah at the Arizona border on Wednesday night. The accident happened December 29th in Mojave County on Southwest Interstate 15, just before 10 p.m. A four-wheeler crashed into the back of a semi-truck, wedging the car partially beneath the trailer and trapping 3 occupants, a father and his 2 children, inside the vehicle. The father was pronounced dead at the scene, and crews worked for half an hour to cut away the top of the vehicle to free the 2 surviving children. The 12-year-old boy sitting in the passenger seat stopped breathing as he was lifted from the mangled vehicle and was later pronounced that he passed away. The 11-year-old girl in the back seat was then transported to a nearby hospital. Witnesses to the crash say that the semi-truck had pulled off onto the shoulder north of Black Rock exit near mile marker 27 and then later pulled back onto the interstate at a slow rate of speed when the car crashed into the back. Witnesses also say that the lights on the trailer were not on when the rig pulled back onto the interstate, but by the time the truck driver realized they were off, it was too late. 2 other vehicles also narrowly avoided striking the slow-moving semi-truck. The truck driver was not injured in the incident. Talk about negligent. And in the next story, a carjacker forces a truck driver to drive after fatally shooting an officer. And then he goes on a crime spree. A man has been arrested after killing a police officer, holding a trucker against their will, and going on a crime spree in Illinois. The incident happened December 29th in Wayne County, Illinois. According to press release regarding the incident, preliminary reports indicate Deputy Sean Riley of the Wayne County Sheriff's Office was dispatched to assist a motorist on Interstate 64. A short time later, another officer responding to reports of an officer-involved shooting located Deputy Riley, who was deceased on the scene with his squad car nowhere to be found. The deceased deputy's squad car was located near the scene a short time later. According to the local news, reports that a suspect in the officer's shooting, 40-year-old Ray Tate, then carjacked a semi-truck near where the squad car was found and forced the trucker to drive him to a nearby gas station in Missouri, where he then proceeded to commit a series of crimes. The driver of the semi was held against his will and drove Tate to a gas station in St. Peters, Missouri. While in Missouri, a series of carjackings, robberies, and shootings occurred. Tate then allegedly traveled back to Illinois in a stolen vehicle with kidnapped victim and ended up at a home in rural Clinton County, where he took the kidnapped victim and the homeowner hostage in the house. Just before 2 p.m., SWAT team was able to enter the home and take Tate into custody without incident. Homeowner and kidnapped victim were located in the residence uninjured. Tate had been taken to the Clinton County Jail in charge of first-degree murder. And a trucker stays with a stuck rig for 2 days, waiting for a tow truck. A truck driver chose to stay with his rig for 2 whole days while he waited for a tow after getting stuck in a ditch in North Dakota. It looks like he missed the curve because he was going too fast and ran right into the damn ditch. Truck driver lost control and went into a ditch on the morning of Sunday the 26th and was not towed out of the ditch until the afternoon of Tuesday, December 28th. According to local news, a truck driver and his rig were stuck on North Dakota Highway 32 near mile marker 65 in Fingal. Multiple Barnes County officers say they made contact with a truck driver on Sunday who was not been named, but that the driver chose to stay at his cab until a tow truck could arrive. The trucker then contacted the Barnes County Dispatch on Monday to say he needed fuel, and a small tow truck was sent to his location to fuel him up. During that encounter, the tow truck driver offered to help the trucker find a place to stay, but the driver again chose to remain with his truck. Truck driver then contacted the Barnes County Dispatch again on Tuesday morning to check in, but once again chose to stay with his truck. A large tow truck was finally able to arrive later that day and get the rig out of the ditch. Officers say that communicating with the trucker was difficult due to a language barrier, but that police had been in contact with the trucker's dispatchers who assured police that they had been in contact with the driver and that he was doing fine. And I'm sure he was East Indian or something like that. And, of course, they don't want to leave the truck because God only knows what you find in there. And Oregon Department of Transportation worker completely unscathed when this icy tree smashes into his windshield. Oregon Department of Transportation worker was unhurt after an icy tree fell on top of his pickup truck earlier in the week. Dashcam caught the whole thing on camera. This incident happened on I-5 near Wolf Creek in southern Oregon. I didn't see it start to fall, he said. I had no idea what was happening until my windshield shattered, so my first thought was to get to the side of the road and sort of assess the damage. He then started to clear away the debris, but other motorists who witnessed the event were already way ahead of him. Quote, by the time I jumped out, they had the vast majority of the southbound side cleaned up on their own. He said they did great work. They were dragging branches to the inside shoulder. I threw some traffic cones over there. They coned off the fast lane themselves. As I was working on the northbound side, they moved on and kept traffic flowing. It was great help. He said that several loggers also caught up in the traffic caused by the fallen tree, and they were able to help them move the tree out of the road using chainsaws that they had on hand. So that was pretty cool. And stay tuned for the Rookie Roundtable. Welcome to Rookie Roundtable. In this week's Roundtable, I'm going to discuss how a truck driver delivers a stranded college student home for the holidays. Have a little bit of a good story and how did one of my friends put it, a human interest story. I keep forgetting my words, sorry. A truck driver was able to help a stranded college student get back home for the holidays, thanks to some quick thinking by her mom, who works in logistics. Elsie Murphy is a senior at the University of Vermont in Burlington, Vermont, and was on her way home to Roseau, Minnesota for the holidays when her second flight of the trip, a flight from Minneapolis to Thief River Falls, got canceled due to weather. Determined to get her daughter home for the holidays, Diane Murphy decided to look for help within an industry she knows well, trucking. Diane works for Polaris as a central planner, and a large part of her job involves getting parts shipped to different Polaris plants. So, of course, working with trucking companies is a large part of getting things done, getting things where they need to go and getting things done. That's when she thought of a local trucking company, Bifuglen Trucking. That's like the first thing I thought of, said Diane. I should see if Bifuglen Trucking by any chance has a truck down there. Diane called Julie Bifuglen of Bifuglen Trucking, who then contacted truckers in the area. Alex Lee, a trucker from War Road, Minnesota, said yes to helping the family out right away. He didn't even hesitate. Not even knowing who this girl is, he was completely willing to help, said Julie. Lee was picking up a forklift for Polaris at the time, so Elise took an Uber from the airport to Bennett Material Handling, where Lee was waiting for his load, and the two met up. Quote, I was telling my friends from school and my coaches what just happened to me, said Elise. They were like, only in Roseau, Minnesota can you get in a semi with a random stranger and know what you're going to make it home, end quote. Lee and Elise met, got acquainted, and Lee even helped her to load her bags into the truck before the two started on the 6-hour drive to Roseau. I'll pronounce it Roseau, I might be wrong. Quote, I thought it was going to be awkward, but it wasn't awkward. He was super nice, said Elise, commenting on how the pair bonded over hockey. Elise plays for the University of Vermont, and Lee's 4 children play as well. We say, y'all, you call, we haul. I'm sorry, let me say that again. Diane said, we say, you call, we haul. When Diane called that day, we said yes. We take on anything to help anybody out, said Bifuglen. We were hauling their precious cargo, which was their daughter, and Alex hurried back, said Bifuglen. I was excited for her to come home, and she hadn't been here last Christmas because of COVID, said Diane. I just didn't want her to end up stuck in the cities for a few more days. I just wanted to get her home. So those were the days back in the day when we were a big family out here. We didn't have a problem giving somebody a ride. You didn't have to worry about getting held up, getting a knife stuck to your throat, getting a gun pulled on you. When another driver needed help, you pulled over. You asked him if he was okay. Ask him if he had somebody coming. Over the CB. We don't even use CBs anymore. People don't even want to say hello to you anymore. Don't even want to wave. Though I know those days are long gone, but sure would be nice to get them back again. I sure do miss the old days of trucking. So thank you so much for joining me this week on the Rookie Roundtable. I hope everybody had a great Christmas, got everything we wanted and then some, and had a really good New Year, and everybody have a safe and prosperous New Year. And we'll see you next time. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you who tune in to listen to me each week here on the cafe. If you wouldn't mind, please subscribe using the link below, or on CloudHub, please subscribe at the top of the page. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. As I said, please, if you wouldn't mind, stop in if you're on Facebook and give us a like on Facebook. Also join our discussion group at Julia's Trucking Cafe Regulars. And if you wouldn't mind, subscribing to our newsletter at juliastruckingcafe.com/newsletter. So thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time. You have been listening to Julia's Truckin' Cafe Truckin' News Hour. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Take care. Have a blessed day.